Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com. You saw this week that Dillard President Dr. Walter Kimbrough wrote an article in the LA Times, an op-ed, where he was referencing another doctor, not an official doctor, but he's a doctor in the studio, Dr. Dre, about this massive gift that he gave to USC, University of Southern California. Dr. Dre and a guy by the last name Levine, I think that's how you pronounce it, I want to say Jimmy Levine, gave a combined total of $70 million to the school. Dr. Dre gave half, Jimmy gave the other half, and Dr. Kimbrough stepped up and wrote a piece that has gotten a lot of buzz on the web, basically asking, why did you give all this money to a school that doesn't seem to really need it, that doesn't seem to really do a whole lot for your community, when you could have given that amount of money to a school that does love your community, that does need the resources, that can actually use this money in a transformative way. So I wanted Dr. Kimbrough to have an opportunity to explain where he was coming from in this piece and really kind of talk us through the logic of the arguments that he made. So first of all, I want to ask Dr. Kimbrough, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you.
Good. Now, so people can get that background. Okay, you've been the president at Dillard for how long?
I've been here right at a year. I was president in Arkansas for 7.5 years, so I got 8.5 years experience as a president now.
Okay, now last time I had checked, you were the youngest HBCU president in the country. Is that still true?
No, I'm old now.
You're an old man now.
They're probably about 4 or 5 younger than I am, so I'm one of the youngest. But yeah, I'm not. I don't have that title anymore, which is good. It would be bad if I was still the youngest.
Or as Dr. Dre would say, you are now an OG, which
right.
is always
right.
So Dr. Kimbrough, can you kind of just sort of start from the beginning in terms of explaining, what led you to write this article and what your thoughts were as you approached this piece?
Well, one of the things that I look at as a HBCU president is I deal with the realities of what my students bring. I deal with students that 76% of them come from low-income families. They qualify for the federal Pell Grant. So the national average for all students in higher education is like 35% Pell eligible. So I'm more than double that. And so I watch students and families struggle every day to remain in school. And I know the bigger picture research about the impact of education, how that impacts African-American families. We have this growing wealth gap over the last 25 years. Even though African-Americans are getting more education, we have less of an inheritance to pass along. So these people are struggling, and I know that some of their white, colleagues are going to school where the family can stroke the check because they have inheritance from grandparents that gave them all the money that they need to go to college. My kids are not only in school and working a couple jobs, they sometimes take care of their mama because their mama didn't have a job. I mean, we're still African-American unemployment is twice that of whites. It always stays at. So we're the only group in the country right now, even though the recession is declining. We're the only group in double digits at 13.2%. Okay? So those are the issues we have. And so when you see this massive amount of wealth, and I think it's a great gift. I mean, Dr. Dre is now the biggest African-American higher ed philanthropist in history. It's the biggest gift ever given by an African-American to higher education. That's great. I mean, I grew up, NWA comes out when I'm in college. Okay, so this is my peer group, and I'm watching him, so I'm excited, particularly knowing the struggles that NWA had and how mainstream media just vilified them because they challenged the system. But, as a student at predominantly white University of Georgia, I'm feeling everything NWA is talking about. That's my experience. So, so for me then to hear this man who has these lyrics talking about this experience and then his production career and all the things he's done, to be a part of a team to say, you know what, we're going to give this gift to a school that has a $3.5 billion endowment, the 21st largest endowment in the nation, a school that is presently raising $6 billion, the largest capital campaign in the history of American higher education. They've already raised more money than all HBCUs have in their endowments combined in the last year and a half. So I'm thinking, dude, You know, if you gave $35 million to most HBCUs, their endowment doubles, triples, or even quadruples. So you're talking about a transformational gift that they could use for poor students so that they don't have these massive loan debt, and they can start their careers on a little bit more level playing field as their white counterpart. So I just asked the question because that's the way I look at it. Not even so much as a race issue, and race is part of it, but I can look at it from a straight, and you understand this, just from a straight business perspective. And in terms of economics and how they, the disparities between Black America and everybody else. That money could impact Black lives at a level that it will never impact any lives at USC. Because $35 million as a part of $3.5 billion is nothing. For me, and I calculated $35 million in 2 months generates enough interest to cover all of my expenses for a year. Let me just put it like that.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how much money that is.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because the Dr. Dre donation, it's so peculiar on so many levels. Not only are you talking about a school that does not need the money, $3.5 billion in their endowment. I mean, that's more than every HBCU in the country put together. And as you mentioned, they raised more money in the last year and a half than all the HBCU endowments combined. So this gift is not, this is a drop in the bucket for them. And it's another, also you have to go to the second level and look at the fact that this school does not contribute very much to the Black community. They don't admit Black students unless you play a sport. They don't typically hire very many Black faculty. When all those little Black boys are being shot and killed down the street in South Central Los Angeles, they simply use Dr. Dre's money so they can build higher fences to protect their students from the danger. They're not jumping in the trenches on this. And then, so you've got the fact that they don't need the money. They're not giving much to the Black community. And then here's the final kicker on this that's so interesting is that schools like USC are able to extract hundreds of millions of dollars from the Black community through our athletes. Reggie Bush alone, Reggie Bush was worth over $100 million to their school, and then they had the audacity to turn around and punish his family when they found out he was getting a few $100s under the table. It's astonishing. So I will say that I supported what you wrote. I thought it was, I supported it not just because I agreed, but because I thought it was very bold. I can imagine that you might have gotten some backlash from this. Can you tell us what the response has been in general, good and bad, since you wrote this piece?
Well, it depends. You got a lot of African Americans saying, yeah, I thought this too, and this needs to be said. We as a people always talk about giving back to our community. Well, clearly, this is not a gift that goes back to our community. Okay, so we understand that. But there are some others, particularly, some whites who are saying, Black schools aren't any good anyway. He doesn't need to give his money. He needs to basically give his money to a winner. And that's their, and it's his money. And I told people, it's like, read the article. I say very clearly, it is his money. He can do whatever he wants to. I'm just saying, I'm asking the question, but it's his, I respect that. And on a lot of levels, it makes sense. He wants it closer to him. He wants to be involved in this program. There aren't any Black colleges out in that area, so it makes sense. I'm not vilifying him for doing that, but I'm still asking a fundamental question that this is an institution that already has more than enough. Do they really need this? And people don't want to deal with that. They get caught up in the race part of it and say, oh, you're playing the race card and Black school, blah, blah, blah. They're like, you take race completely out of it. Let's just talk about basic finances. It's just sort of like if Kevin Durant the other day just said, you know what, I'm partnering with somebody and I'm giving $1 million to build a new luxury hotel in Oklahoma City. People are going to be like, dude, can you look at more Oklahoma that just got devastated? He would be vilified for doing that. It's the same thing. Dr. Dre, all he has to do is look at his community in Compton. It's a war zone, but you give him more money to the place 12 miles away that has everything that they need. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that's why I'm asking the question, like, dude, your community is suffering. The average income in some parts of Compton is less than $12,000 a year.
Wow.
And you give it to a place that has a $3.5 billion endowment. That's all I'm saying. I'm just asking the question. I'm finding out that people don't like you to ask hard questions. But that's just what I do.
Well, that's your job as an intellectual leader, in my opinion. That's our job. As scholars,
Yeah.
I think, our job is not to say what's popular all the time. It's not to say what's comfortable and convenient all the time, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to continue to get what you've been getting. So, leadership to me means taking new approaches to asking new questions and attacking issues in new ways. And, I agree with you 100%. You can take race completely out of the equation, and you still have a strong argument. And what I'm going to do, actually, is I inject race right back into the equation as well, when you consider the fact that Dr. Dre made his wealth by basically packaging and exporting black culture to the masses. Black people give artists that street credibility they need to sell around the world. Hip-hop culture started in the black community. So even Dr. Dre himself, for those who don't think he owes black people anything, I think you're out of your mind, because black people have given him everything. If it were not for the support of the black community in the beginning stages of his career, he would not be a wealthy man today. If black kids would not walk around with those Beats from Dre headphones, then a lot of white kids wouldn't buy them. They buy them because we love them. We give them that credibility. So we have to really talk about this, because let's be clear, let's be real. If you go to Jewish communities, they're talking about that. They're telling their kids, you owe your community something, because if we do not stick together, we will continue to be oppressed. Well, same thing for black folks. If we don't stick together, we will continue to be oppressed. We will continue to be terrorized. And guess what? If we don't do it for ourselves, nobody's going to do it. No one will do it.
Right,
so I'll let you get the last word on this. I'm excited about your article, and of course I agree with it 100%. But I would definitely like for you to get the last word and just talk about where we go from here, and just the general message that you would like people to get from this article, as it pertains to not just what you're saying, but also you as a person and what you stand for.
Well, for me, part of the article, the impetus, and like I said, I'm blown away at the response that so many people have mentioned it and talked about it. It's just, after I finished the school year, I spend my summers reflecting, and so this just happened at a time when I had time to really reflect and just let it flow. So I try to do most of my writing, my op-eds and things in the summer, because it's tougher during the year. So I'm surprised at it, but the bigger picture is I wanted to create a level of conversation about, what real philanthropy is. How do we give our money and target our money so that we can do the most good and not just, keep, adding to this perpetuation of privilege. Because that's what, when you get a USC, you're perpetuating privilege. You aren't doing anything for the masses. You're perpetuating privilege. So let's just call it what it is. So, and I'm just saying that I need to, as a president, really think about how I go and make relationships with people who have this kind of wealth. So in the article, I challenge myself that I need to think about different ways to do this. And I also say, well, how do we challenge others who have this kind of wealth to really think about the kind of gifts that they made? So one of the things that happened, actually, there's a well-known entertainer who is actually on TV every day. There are people reached out to me yesterday. I got a meeting with this person Friday night. Okay, so maybe something will come out of this. But now I'm getting the ear of some people in the industry to say, hey, this is sort of what I'm thinking. I'm just letting you know. So this could be an opportunity that I never really thought that would happen. I'm just, looking at the big picture. But if I can help really get, particularly those who have wealth in our community, to really target those resources to help those in our community who need the most help, I feel really good about that. So that's what I hope comes out of this, is that you'll start to see black entertainers and actors and athletes to really start focusing some of their giving so they can do the most good, And that doesn't mean black college. It could be, little league programs, mentoring programs, church programs, but just something to deal with the people who come from our communities. Let's just help them. That's what I want to have happen. So that's what I hope happens. It looks like some of that might be happening now. So like I said, I'm really pleased with the response.
Well, I love it. Your extraordinary leadership down at Dillard, it inspires me as much as another young leader that I know of, who actually is the president of Simmons College in Kentucky, a small growing HBCU that's about 130 years old. I gave the commencement address at that school about 2 weeks ago. And, when Dr. Kevin Cosby, the president, told the history of the school. He told a story about a small group of slaves who bought 4 acres of land and said, we want to use this little contribution to educate our people. And as a result, this school, which is located in I think the 16th poorest zip code in the entire United States, has been educating black students for over 130 years because those 4 slaves, or that small group of slaves, it might have been a little more than 4, but that small group of slaves pooled their money together to buy 4 acres of land. And you got to ask yourself, what would have happened to all those hundreds of lives that have been affected if they had taken their little bit of money and put it into the big, powerful white university down the street? Right. Again, it's not a racial thing. It's nothing against any other group of people, but I think that what it says is that there's nothing wrong with loving your own people. Loving your own people doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It just means that you want your children and your grandchildren to prosper and succeed. And I applaud you, and I'm so happy you wrote this article. So thank you very much for your time, Dr. Kimbrough. I really appreciate that.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Anytime. I'll be glad to help.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening, thank you for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.